I'm reading this from this playbill, the Cell Theater in Manhattan. It's a not for profit dedicated to the incubation and presentation of New York across all artistic disciplines. That, this is what I love, mine the mind, pierce the heart, and awaken the soul. Isn't that beautiful? The whole person.
So before we dive into our episode today, we're going to be talking about Communion, a wonderful show. I first want to step out of the conversation a bit and just say thanks to everyone that's been watching. We see the numbers on the YouTube algorithms, and we notice a steady increase in our viewership and the community that's being built around it. And not that this is all about that kind of thing, but you do start to feel something when you see the same consistency of numbers of people showing up. We have an audience. You're our audience, and you're interested and engaged. You email both of us. So thank you. If you're not subscribed already to the Sisters of St. Joseph YouTube page, please do so. If you want to leave a comment, please do so. If you want to message us, go to our website, reach out to us, and let us know what you're liking or what we could be doing more of. We got energy, and it seems like we got more to be done with Breakthrough. So, yeah.
Yeah, and thank you. And it's really your feedback that helps us think about how to move forward. So it's helpful, and we're grateful, and it makes you a part of it, right?
Amen. Exactly. And in tying with that, this show, Communion, that we're going to talk about here, and our friend Matthew was part of that feedback. We had mentioned this. Matthew was a guest on the show back when we were doing the StreamYard Zooming style.
Just last season.
Last season, right? It feels like we've been doing this for so long, in a good way. And so if you haven't seen that one, we'll put that in the show notes so you can go rewatch my conversation with Matthew. But now, fast forward, Matthew just premiered his show Off-Broadway at the Cell Theater, and we got to go to it in previews.
And first of all, shout out to the Cell. What a wonderful experience. You walk into this theater, and it's like it's so intimate and cozy, and it's like Matthew came into our living room and just was with us sharing his story.
It was one of the coolest New York experiences. Yeah. And before we go any further, let's show the trailer. We got Matthew's permission. We're going to show the trailer here in the episode so you know what the show's about, and you know more, and you can go get your tickets, and we'll talk about the experience. So let's get to that.
God's beautiful plan for my life includes marriage to my husband, Rowan. Anything less would be a mockery of his creation. And God should know because he knew me before I was born.
So let's paint the picture for our viewers here. We'll go into the city to the Cell Theater, not too far away from the Garden and Penn Station and Grand Central. So it's a good, easy spot to get to. We bring some of our sisters along. We got a crew.
23rd between 8th and 9th.
There you go. Good. Oh, we're getting specific. Good. The Cell Theater. We got some of our sisters with us. We got a nice little crew to go support Matthew in previews. And typically, you go to a show, you expect theater seating. This theater, the Cell Theater, is really intimate. Literally, like walking into a living room. You have to walk through the stage area. It's like a classic, true, independent, small theater acting. It's like an actor's dream.
That's right. The hardwood floors, just set up the seats, some couches and some comfy chairs. And you go up the staircase, a little balcony area. Yeah.
It was such a cool. And so then Matthew, we'll talk about Matthew's material, but you sit there and you kind of think, oh, this is intimate. This is interesting. And then once it starts, the production value of this theater was incredible. The lights, the projector, they have projectors, all these things. And then I look up and it's just totally rigged, like so professionally. This place is not messing around. No. And they rolled out the carpet for Matthew to give him the best venue for the way that he performs.
And the staging, there was a simplicity to it, which was most effective. And how Matthew uses all of his props, really just enhanced his ability to tell his story.
Yeah, it was so good. So I guess let's tell a little bit about the show and then our experience of seeing it. But so Matthew was a teacher, and he was let go. He was fired when he got married, and to his partner Rowan. And the claim in the firing from his employers was that he cannot be ministering to children and to students anymore, and proclaiming that. And the whole thesis of the show is this idea of what does it mean to be a minister? What does it mean to be a human being? And then in the Catholic Church, this struggle with understanding, like, you're following church doctrine or you're not following church doctrine, depending on your role. And he paints it so beautifully through his experience.
Yeah. And besides, teaching students music and really pulling the music out of the students, he also was a choir director for the local parish. And in this story, you can see that whether it's the students or his choir, they love him. They just loved him because I think of the person he was, and perhaps he didn't give himself the title of minister, but his creativity, his whole affect and compassion and love for what he did and who he was doing it with really was, it just touched their hearts, Yeah.
And I think Matthew's onto something really important and valuable within our church, this conversation of what does it mean to be a minister. And that's not the only thing that his show is addressing. It's about LGBT rights. It's about the way our church is saying we will value the human person in certain arenas and certain ways, but then if you start to show this or that, the other, we're not going to know what to do with you. That's pretty much like, we don't know what to do with certain people in our church. And so it's just easier to maybe say, move on, fire. And for some people like Matthew and then others that have even more horrifying experiences, it can be really a violent, traumatic ending to a long, fruitful journey. But this idea of what does it mean to be a minister that really sticks with me.
Yeah, and what is a minister? What does a minister do? And a minister does one's ministry. And what is that ministry? And for us, those who carry this charism of active, inclusive love, of unioning love, it is really about making that happen, being that, and when we speak about, I just recently was in a conversation with someone, and they said, the best name for God is inclusion, and so whether it's any institution, it's not, and what we do and how we minister in ministry it's not who's in, who's out. You follow these rules, you can be in. it is about inclusion, and such was the life and ministry of Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what got him in trouble.
Yeah, right. Such a and another too is that the show is not trying to talk about church teaching, which I think Matthew does such a good job of saying, like, this isn't about like going to the papal offices and having a discussion about what documents say. This is just about how we value human beings that are entering into our churches, entering into our parishes, that want a relationship with Christ, and that are successful in bringing people to Christ, which Matthew was. And, you know, there's a one point in the show where he mentions a former student that comes to him and, you know, says, I just got into a great Catholic higher education school. And Matthew says to himself in the show, what are we doing? Are we telling these young people, go to Catholic school, go to this, go to that, which is all good things. It should be good things. But then once you're out of this bubble, is it just going to be a higher fall from this, you know, avalanche or this, you know, this, that visual was so moving to me and the others that were with us of what are we doing for people that maybe need community. We need communion.
Yeah. Well, and right, it comes down to relationships, because as we move through life, whether it's through our education or ministry or work, however the journey is going for us, if we're not in relationship with others, we could come to that falling point, you know, and that leaves a lot of people hurt and a sense of abandonment and despair, and that's not what it's about. You know, it is about the relationships, and we were born out of relationship, right? It's at the heart of who we are and who we're becoming. You know, and how do we go about our relationships where we're not abandoning any other person or being for that point?
It was such a good show. I mean, so we saw Matthew do the show when he did a fundraising effort in Lindenhurst,
Yes,
which
a few months back.
and then he was preparing for this run, which I think the trailer shows it, but it's November 7th to December 7th. So get your tickets, selltheater.com. And he was preparing for this, and so we saw a different version of it where he was in a venue that was a little bit different, not super familiar. It was great. He was on fire. Like, I want to talk about just him as performer. Like when you see a good performer truly doing what they do, there's nothing like it. You watch it, you go, oh yeah, there are people out there who are performers and can do this, and holy cow.
Well, and in the performance, I mean, his energy is just like off the charts. And I also which, you know, that output, you know, you would think he'd get tired, but I also think he got the energy from it, you know, in telling the story, in having the story being received, you know, and welcomed. It was just, it was gripping. You know, you just felt yourself just being drawn into it.
Your mind didn't leave it ever.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like, you know, we have a tendency at times, and I think I said this in the Father Brian Massengale episode, the last one about the nation, where, you know, mind surfing and you kind of wander. You know, we all think about the grocery list every now and then during a homily. Sorry, right? You know, we do. So did I leave that thing on at the house? Matthew leaves no room for your mind to wander. It's so captivating. And then on top of it, the way the theater has collaborated with him and his director, which is all right here, Kira. We've got to give shout out, Kira.
Yeah.
Some really good direction.
Simmering. Yeah.
Ooh,
the artistic director. Wonderful.
Yeah, the way everything was set up and just pulls you into this experience that is so deeply personal. And that's the other part of it too. The amount of vulnerability that Matthew, as an artist, is putting out there for you to take in. You can't help but leave the show feeling hopeful and just believing in human beings.
And the courage, because this wasn't a made-up story.
No, yeah, right, yeah.
This was his story,
This is
you
his
know,
life.
and his opportunity to share it. I would think, as challenging as it can be, it helps the healing, you know, that he needs to receive. And what kind of healing does it bring to others who have felt excluded, you know, or put out by any institution, you know, because once we institutionalize, a wise sister once told me, it loses its purity, you know, because it just becomes so rigid. It's not and so encapsulated. And that's where you get the who's in, the who's out, you know. But this whole setting, this whole familiar setting, really was so welcoming to all who was there, for sure.
It was just it was so great. And Matthew, what a gift! I just say to camera here, you know, we're grateful for your friendship. He shouted us out in the playbill,
Oh, that was
which
very touching.
like
Yeah.
holy cow, we did
What
not
an
expect
honor.
that. And the friendship and the journey that we've gotten to be on through getting to know Matthew and then getting to know some of Matthew's friends and different people that are in this community has been so. It's been so lovely to our hearts and to my heart personally. I feel like I've just been growing so much in dialogue, and
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
really so. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you.
Yeah, really. And the trust again that
Yeah.
you put in us, you know. And I think that's why, you know, Matthew has the relationships he does because he's a very trusting person. He's very loving and kind and compassionate. And really, as his choir members, and you'll see this in the show, really came to know more fully who he was, I think they just loved him more. You
Yeah.
know, it didn't matter. You know, what mattered is that they knew Matthew, they loved Matthew, and they loved his work. They saw him as gift, and the relationship was gift, and they wanted to celebrate
I want to
that.
tell Matthew's story real quick. Just it's fun when he visit. So just to prove like how great and how fun he is and how much of a real deal he is, and also how hard it is to be a performer and like being an actor and like, you know, when you get to this point where you have your own show, you know, one, you have to go through a traumatic thing to have the inspiration, right? Most great stories come from something pretty traumatic, right? So you don't wish that on anyone, but okay, that happens. You create the show and then you have this. And many times you can go to a show like this and think, oh, this person made it, right? There's no such thing as making it when you're a performer. And so Matthew, we bring him out to Brentwood here to visit for a day. So he wants to get to know the sisters a little bit more. We're forming this friendship with him. And he comes out here, and before he comes out, he says, "I got to cancel. I got an audition that I have to do." And I said, "Oh, wait, what do you mean you got to do an audition?" He's like, "I got to put myself on tape on Zoom for this TV show I might get. I don't know." I was like, "I'll just come do it here. We have all these rooms here. Just how long is it gonna take you?" He's like, "It won't take me long." All right, so come here. So he comes here. We meet. We have a wonderful conversation. He goes. He does his audition, and then we go off and we get lunch. But again, that this like the realness of like. It's not easy. Like there's a hustle, and I have some actor friends in the city before Matthew that this hunger that you have to have, but now marry that with a deeply personal story, and that takes a special kind of person, really.
Well, and that's what artists do. I love that.
Yeah.
Mind the mind, pierce the heart, and sear the soul. You know, and that's what our world needs.
Yeah.
That's what makes us more human. That's what brings us into greater and deeper and meaningful relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. So go see the show. It's incredible.
Yes.
Cell Theater. It's only a short time here, but it's like the perfect Thanksgiving time. It is the perfect show to go see right now, where you're looking for community. You want to bring someone deep with you that can have this kind of conversation with you. And if you're not Catholic either, if you're not totally in the know of like the Catholic language of it, it's still a really interesting human experience story.
Yes.
It was awesome, and it's very easy to navigate. The show is about an hour and 15 minutes long, and it earns every minute of that.
Yes.
It's a really lovely experience. I can't recommend enough. Tickets were very, very reasonable. What else can we say other than? I mean, I don't know how much more we could go see it.
Go support Matthew. Go support the artist. Go support the cell. And have your mind be mind, your heart pierced, and your soul seared. There we go.
All right.
Enjoy it.
Good luck, Matthew. We love you.
All right. Take care.